Hello, excuse me. Hello, everybody. So we're going to talk today about uh, two note patterns and applying those to the major scale. We're going to go through the modes of the major scale and take kind of two notes per string and work through this a little by little. This is going to be a podcast edition talk. And so if you are listening to this on the podcast, there is a video that accompanies this. And that is available in the member area on YouTube. So youtube.com/FredPrince. All right. So let's first talk about why and how this is important or can be important if you choose to use some of these ideas. So we've talked a little bit about four notes per four note groupings or four note sort of patterns. And that can really help us with the agility so that we can move from one string or one chord to the next. And be able to move fairly quickly. So if we have four notes available to us on a given chord, it can be very helpful. So we can break those four notes down into a couple of different shapes. So we can have two pairs giving us four notes. And one thing that we can do is play two notes on the same string and then another two notes on the same string. We can play two notes on different strings and another pair of two different strings. So I call those crossovers. So versus same string. Okay. So we get sort of different phrasing type things when we do that activity. Checking everything's okay here. Okay. So a couple of things that are just kind of cool to do with the same string. Of course, this is probably something a lot of folks are already pretty familiar with, which is to use a hammer-on sort of motion if you're going upward, and maybe a pull-off kind of motion if you're going downward. We also have the slide up that can apply to up and down. So those are a few things that you can do for each of those. There's also tapping, which on those two notes I didn't pluck anything. So that's just another element which we can apply to same string, but that also becomes very useful on the crossover into different string. So if we cross over, we have slightly limited phrasing options, but we do have that hammer or tap, I should say, tap technique. So if I'm on string 3, fret 7, I'm playing a note on string 4, fret 10, I can tap that second note. That one in particular is pretty kind of useful. Okay. And then you get a little bit of dynamic range there that helps us to maybe ghost a note or just play very softly with that tapping kind of technique. Also, in an economical sort of way, as far as technique goes, you're not having to do as much with the picking hand, so that's kind of good too. Of course, you could tap the first note and pluck the second, or tap both, right? So when you have four notes, kind of back to our four note concept, we could do same string, or we could do same string, and then maybe different string, or go in different orders. Okay, or we could have crossover, same string. Okay, so we think about our combinations of things and really pared things down to just four notes and two groupings of for the notes. You can also play these. We're kind of assuming continuous eighth notes or sixteenths. So you can also start these on the end of the beat or start them on the beat. So just a couple of kind of factors that we can check out with these. So it can be a very helpful thing to just have some of those shapes even just down, because you have these whole steps, half steps. I'm mixing in some other intervals there too, but as we go through this, you'll see that a lot of these, because we're doing scales here, are going to be stepwise kind of motion, but really having those shapes of a whole step and a half step, both on a single string and crossing over on two strings, can give us very strong fundamentals and agility for creating lines and things. Okay, so let's dive into this a little bit. So two note patterns for scales and phrases. Probably should go on to say that this is major scale. I've already started thinking about, maybe applying this to some other types of scales like melodic minor and harmonic minor, harmonic major. Could be applied to all sorts of scales, whole tone scale, diminished scale, pentatonic scales. So we're going to start with this in this talk today. All right, so just going back to our title page, we're color coding these. So if you see a blue note, that's going to be paired with another blue note. Yellow to yellow, green to green, red to red. And we're going to play one octave scales. So we're going to start way up here on fret 15 and 17. So let's start on the bottom. So if you are listening on the podcast, we've got two fingerboards up here, and the bottom one we're doing same string, and we're just moving up by pair. So we're limiting ourselves to two notes per string and playing on one octave scale. So that's what's going on there. So we start out by playing. Okay. Okay. And so you can practice with these, do all these different, kind of combinations of things, but, maybe do hammer, course, think about a chord, play a chord shape. This is Ionian. You can play these in opposite directions. You could mix those up. So, okay. So the idea is that we're using these pairs. So string 5, string 4, string 3, and string 2. Okay. So on the fingerboard up above, we're doing the same thing. Really same notes, but we're crossing over. So blue with blue goes string 5 to string 4. Yellow to yellow is string 4 to string 3. And then we have red string 3 to string 2. And then green string 2 to string 1. So another little tip, because we're ending up with a scale, and you can use this to play a scale, but that's kind of not really what we're not really the main point of this. Is main point is to kind of get comfortable with some of these shapes, and then end up with a scale and kind of use a scale. So as you play through these, really think about crossover, maybe even slow down, and just try to absorb these pairs. You could even play them a couple times. Okay. So notice those are all the same notes. So same string, and then crossing over in pairs. So all right, and then another theme that we're trying to kind of keep going on all of this is to really think about the root note of whatever we're doing, and visualize where that note is located. Right. So that's a sort of our internal thinking on things. So that's one layer. Also, the layer of the inlays, or the fingerboard markers. We want to have that on an even deeper level, so we have an awareness of where we are in the neck. So let's talk about Locrian next. We're going to go kind of head down here. So I'm on fret 14 here. We have same string, same string, same string, same string. So this is key of no flats, no sharps. Okay. So we could practice all sorts of phrasing options. We could, like I said in the last one, could maybe slide. So keep in mind, if you are looking at the MIDI neck, it doesn't always show up with the slurs, but that's something you can do there. Now, think about too, we also have to have harmonic context. So anytime we do one of these things, we need to anchor ourselves in several different ways. So we need a context. We need a harmony. We need harmonic context. So we can say, okay, we can associate these sounds with this chord, B minor 7 flat 5. Okay, and we can really think about that. This is another opportunity where you could say, well, I know I'm supposed to be working on 4-note grouping, so I can play changes and stay agile with those. So just play the chord, play 4 notes, play a chord, play 4 notes. Okay, but try to stay with those pairs, because that's what this is all trying to get you going with. All right, let's try the crossover. So again, I refer to the crossover as just moving from one string to the next. So we have blue to blue, yellow to yellow, red to that that half step over two strings is a little bit of a challenge, right? So that is something worth, maybe spending some time on, right? Because the fingers either have to stretch, if you're using kind of one finger per fret sort of approach, or you have to move, right? So that can be a little bit of a tough interval to play when crossing over strings. So again, just like I talked about before, we want to have the harmonic context. So that's the B minor 7 flat 5 chord. We want to think about these octave shapes. So we want to have an awareness of where B is, mostly just in proximity to what we're doing here. And that's one thing that's going to really sharpen our skills with this is um, where when you limit yourself to, like, say 2 notes per string, then you're when you go over a scale, you're kind of forced into moving towards the nut of the guitar. Okay, so let's keep rolling along here. So Aeolian, we can associate the A minor 7 with that chord, that scale or mode. Okay. And here we have same string. So I'm moving from 12th position, getting all the way to 8th position. Again, try playing 4-note groupings. And working on slurring in maybe different ways. You could try little things like tap, pluck, tap, pluck, tap, pluck, tap, pluck. Or its opposite, or as many different angles as you can kind of think of on these. So Aeolian, so we're doing this crossover pattern. So blue with blue, yellow with yellow, red with red, and green with green. That's a pretty interesting group of shapes, right? It's kind of just thinking about the fingerboard itself. It's sort of the same shape. We go over 3 frets and up 1 string with these pairs. Part of that has to do with how the guitar is tuned. All right. So now we're thinking about octave shapes that involve A, so we have this. All right. Think about those octave shapes. Think about the chord. Think about the shapes used 2-note patterns. Okay, so let's check out G Mixolydian here. All right. Let me know if you have any questions out there. All right, so we have G7. Let's think about a G7. Chord. And we're thinking about pairs again. Okay. Okay, so those are same string pairings. Okay, and then think about the chord, think about the octave shapes, think about the proximity to those. And mix them up, play them in different orders, up or down. Just thinking about these pairs. All right, so let's check out the crossover shapes for G Mixolydian. Okay, so we have really cover quite a lot of ground there. We start in 7th position. So again, you could think about moving upward and playing a scale, but ultimately we're trying to train the hand to develop fluency with some of these shapes, basically whole steps and half steps, either on the same string or crossing over. So that's kind of our main goal. And then on a very practical level, try practicing 4-note groupings, which would be kind of 2 colors. And that way you'll be able to play changes that that maybe move fairly rapidly. Okay, so next up, we have F Lydian. So we want to think about where the F tones are. And so it's part of the visualization. Okay, of course, we want to think about these fingerboard markers. Okay, so let's start with the same strings. We'll try some. Okay. And again, all those same things that we talked about earlier can be applied here. And then we're working over the crossover shapes. Okay, and giving ourselves that harmonic context, F major, major 7. All right, so next up here, we're going to kind of bump everything down a string each. We're going to start on E here. So E Phrygian. So our chord is going to be E minor. And we're going to play same string, same string. Again, play the chord. And thinking about where E is. Where E is here on the fingerboard. So we're visualizing where those tones are. And we're giving ourselves the harmony to also kind of repeat in our mind's ear as we play through these. So E Phrygian, so we're moving crossover string patterns, so blue to blue, yellow to yellow, red to red, green to green. Again, working with all our phrasing options. So I just did a pluck, tap, pluck, tap, pluck, pluck, tap, so on. All right, so let's look at Dorian next. So the chord that we can associate here is D minor 7. So we're up here in 10th position starting out. Same string, blue, yellow, red, green. Okay. And remember, it's good to play the scale. Works. This is another one of those patterns where we have the same shape each time. That's kind of cool. Okay, but try mixing it up, or doing, it kind of makes it interesting. Change the direction as we think about these pairs. And then the D Dorian, crossover, crossover. Okay. And really thinking about those pairs there as we go down. And again, we have the harmony. We have an idea of where D is in proximity. So we'll have an idea of those octave shapes, that core pattern, as we work through these. All right, and we have one more. We're going to go back to C Ionian, an octave lower. So we get a full octave going on here. So here, C major 7 or C6, any kind of major type chord. So same string. And the crossover patterns. Okay, with all of our phrasing options there. So just to wrap up here and talk about what you want to be doing with this exercise that I'm running past everybody. Think on this exercise. Think in two note groupings. And try the scale, the full range of the scale, 1 octave. Try to work in pairs, and then maybe do 2 pairs so that you have 4 note grouping, right? Try all the different directions for the intervals. So all these intervals fall into either whole step or half step. So try the higher note to the lower note to the higher note. So either way, if it's half step or a whole step, it's kind of either way, same kind of thing. So if we're going from C to D, well, we could go C to D to C, right? Or a half step up a higher note to lower note or lower note to higher note. Okay. And then our phrasing options, especially on one string, we have hammer-ons, pull-offs, slides, and also we have tapping available to us. On the crossovers, it's more of a either picking or tapping in general. All right. Okay, everybody. Well, thanks so much for checking this out. And if you are a member of the YouTube um, community, I will have these PDFs for you um, as well. Thanks for checking this out, and I will see you all in the next video and next talk.